The next 48 hours are going to be very, very important for altcoins and what we see out of this next potential short-term alt season type of period. So for those of you who don't know, we actually have kind of rolled into the official alt season technical indicator. But over the past couple of days, we really haven't seen anything too crazy happening. Coins have really just been kind of struggling and kind of waffling around the same levels that they were. Today, even seeing a little bit of a pullback and a retracement. So I want to talk about all of this because I do think that the next couple of days are going to be massively important for altcoins. And I want to show you what I'm looking at so you can kind of see some of the things that might be helpful for you to be taking a look at as well. So let's go on ahead and we'll take a look at the crypto bubbles to start out because we can see an overall pretty red day in the market, basically a full pullback across the entire market going on here. We can see things like Solana down 4%, Ethereum down 2.4%. We also have Bitcoin pulling back a little bit as well here at 0.6%. We also have Doge down almost 7%. So you can see kind of a nice spread. If I had to kind of peg the average here, it's probably somewhere around 4% down is kind of like the market average here is kind of what it's looking like to me. Also, XRP, we are seeing down 0.7% as well. So you can see a little bit of a rough day in the market, but we are still technically in altcoin season. We've been there for a couple of days. Let's just zoom this in a little bit. You can see we've been here basically since the 11th of September. So about 4 days, we've officially kind of technically been in alt season that entire time. What remains to be seen though is if this is more of a sustained move into the alt season territory, like we saw basically from like March to like early July for Bitcoin season, or if it's going to be something like what we saw from altcoin season back in December of 2024, where it was a super quick move in and then a super quick move out. Hard to say for sure. I will say that the build up to alt season has been much more sustained than what we saw previously. So that does give me a little bit of hope, but we'll just have to see for sure. If we do look at the total 3 market cap, we can see this is basically everything excluding Ethereum and Bitcoin. We saw a really, really nice run up, actually getting very close to hitting all-time highs, but we've since been rejected. It was looking like we might be able to settle on some level of support here at this range. But obviously you could see we have fallen below that. So I do think probably the next major level of support is going to be around kind of this 1.09 to maybe even like 1.1 trillion range, because this has been kind of a fairly strong level of resistance prior. You could see we had actually been rejected here 1, 2, 3 different kind of times here before we actually broke through this. So I think finding a level of support here would ultimately be actually pretty good for the crypto market, even though we are seeing a little bit of a pullback here. So this is something that I'm going to be paying very, very close attention to. And as you can see here on the 17th, this is when we have the FOMC economic projections, the press conference, interest rate decisions, all of this type of stuff is all coming on the 17th. So we are 2 days away from that, and that is going to probably have a fairly large impact. Now, if we go and take a look at kind of what the forecast is for right now, we can see it's basically almost guaranteed that we will see 1 interest rate cut. There is still kind of a very outside chance that maybe we get 50 basis points instead of the 25 that's basically forecasted in right now. Hard to say though. From what it seems, it does pretty much seem to be that it has been fully kind of built in or kind of forecasted into the market that we are going to see 1 interest rate cut of 25 basis points. If we see one of 50 or greater, this I think would be probably quite a large surprise to the market overall. And so we may see some pretty erratic moves. But leading up to that, a lot of what we are seeing, I think, is just going to be some manipulated moves, trying to maybe cool the market down, maybe trying to liquidate people out because, you know, we're in altcoin season, people are getting bullish, all of this type of stuff. But if you look at the fear and greed index, it's still sitting in neutral. This is another thing that I found very interesting because the last time we were in alt season, we were also in a period of extreme greed. Now we are technically in alt season, but we are not actually seeing any sort of, we're not even in greed. We're just sitting in neutral, and we've been in neutral basically consistently since about the middle of August. So it's been almost a month straight of just kind of bouncing around in this neutral area. So I do think that we do have a decent side or a decent ways up to go, but we will have to, of course, kind of keep our eyes peeled and see what is going on here. Now, to keep up with some of the trades on some of this pullback, we have actually had a lot of our trades hit stop losses. You can see here the TAO trade looking close to hitting our stop loss. But keep in mind, most of the ones that have been hitting our stop losses are things that we've already realized profit on, and we've moved our stop losses up back to break even because we're not wanting to take a winning trade and let it turn into a losing trade. So again, if it does hit a stop loss, not that big of a deal. That's why they're there, and that is kind of a good way to use them. So overall, we'll just kind of keep monitoring these trades. Overall, like I said, though, we are seeing a decent pullback in the market. Nothing too crazy or nothing that's too scary to me. This is, just kind of how the market works. And that's also why you take profits on the way up. When things are pumping, make sure that you're at least pulling some off the table to make sure that if things turn around, like we have just seen, you are not essentially giving all of that money back. This is a lesson that I have learned the hard way many times. And so I would say, you should just really be paying very close attention to that. So overall, that's a lot of what I'm seeing here in the crypto market. If you are interested, of course, in starting to trade, maybe try your hand at it, even just do like demo trading and just kind of try to learn, feel free to use my links in the description below. They are all, of course, exclusive affiliate links, so you can get some really, really nice deposit bonuses. BTCC probably having the best one. I do personally prefer to trade on Weex primarily, but I do also do some trading on BloFin as well. So any of those that you are interested in using, you can feel free to sign up for. Now, moving along, I want to take a look at some of our favorites here. So the first off, we're going to be taking a look at XRP, because XRP is actually holding quite well. This is not much of a crazy story here, just because XRP's kind of always held quite well. If you do look, though, we are going to be seeing kind of a similar type of move for a lot of the cryptos that we take a look at. You can see here, very large push to the downside. We've seen it wick up. This does look kind of like a little bit like a liquidation push. If we look at XRP specifically, we can see that we've broken out of this trend line. We're moving up. We'd broken above this level of resistance that we had talked about. Unfortunately, we have fallen back below it, but we have seemed to have held that $3 level of support. So now we're kind of jammed in between kind of this level of resistance at like the $3.07 range and the $3 range support. So we'll have to see kind of exactly what happens here. And the biggest thing that we need to figure out is what's next, right? Because we've seen this breakout, we've seen it started to move to the upside, it's starting to come back down a little bit, and now we're trying to decide, like, is it going to continue back to the upside? Is it going to come back down? Maybe see a bounce off of this trend line and then a continuation upward? Is it just going to collapse and fall straight back down and break through supports? Who knows, right? Only time will tell. But this is one of the things that we are watching very, very closely for, is to see kind of what exactly is going to happen here. And this is happening through a lot of different cryptos within the market. We are seeing so many different things kind of follow these similar types of trends. Now, the other one that we will take a quick look at here is AERO as well, because Aerodrome has seen something very similar. We saw kind of a nice little move to the upside, a fairly sustained rejection. You could see a rejection over the course of 2 different days at this $1.30 range. And then we have seen essentially price come right back down to this level of support at $1.16. We are bouncing pretty nice and pretty cleanly off of this range though, which is good to see. This is showing us a continued higher low being put in here for Aerodrome, which is of course really good, although we did not see the momentum kind of coming back up into the $1.60 range for Aerodrome. So this is something that we'll just kind of have to wait and see, and we'll just, of course, be patient. We can see obviously the Bollinger Bands are squeezing very tightly, so I do think that this means we may be seeing a sustained move to the upside here coming soon. Generally, when the Bollinger Bands squeeze, it means you're going to see a sustained period of increased volatility, though it does not guarantee which direction it is going to go. I just think, given the strength that we have seen from Aerodrome and the overall, I would say, somewhat positive or leaning positive direction that we are moving into the market, we could see that move to the upside here for Aerodrome quite easily. We've also seen that the RSI has pretty much reset. It's almost sitting right here in the middle at about a 53. So not really too much going on here as well. We'll just have to kind of see how that ends up going over time. But if we do look and we kind of zoom out on this, we can see the structure for Aerodrome looking very, very strong. So nothing too crazy or too worrying going on here. Now, slightly on the other on the other side of things, we could see ICP really quite struggling again, or still, I guess you could say. You can see here, basically been range bound for several months now, basically ever since we initially kind of fell into this, anywhere kind of in like late February, early March. we've basically just been kind of bouncing from like the low 4s to the lows and the low 6s to the highs, and it's been yeah, very, very boring for ICP. But you can see here we saw some nice moves coming up here. We looked like we were going to see some sustained moves to the upside. We did hit this $5 level of resistance and then have been kind of roundly rejected and pushed right back almost to the bottom of this channel that we spent several days trying to get to. This is kind of the mainly frustrating part about ICP, is we take, 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks to get to a point and then basically give it all back in just a couple of days. So this has been a very frustrating type of chart to watch. But overall, I think we can just kind of hope and continue to keep faith in what the ICP team is doing, all of the different innovations and different things that they are doing. Hopefully the market starts to kind of recognize those at some point. But again, of course, we do have to always just recognize what the market is showing us. And so far, the market is showing us that ICP has not been a strong performer this cycle at all. It's basically been going flat while most of the alt market has been moving pretty well to the upside. So this is always something you can't ignore. You have to kind of accept to some extent, and so we will just have to see what continues to happen. As I mentioned, and as I will continue to maintain, nothing really matters on the ICP chart until we break above the $6.36 range, or we break below this like $4.18 range. Anything below there, we're probably just going to be range bound, from at least what it's seeming to me. Now ZBEC is another one that's seen some kind of movements one direction or the other, but we haven't actually seen it move too crazy in either direction because it is holding this very, very strong structure. As I've mentioned, we saw a little bit of some momentum to the upside. Currently, we've given basically all of that back. We're coming down close to the bottom of this wedge here. Again, ideally, we're looking to hold this wedge, maybe see another bounce, maybe come back up to this upside. Essentially, as long as we're staying within this wedge, nothing really matters. It can kind of move exactly how it wants. And we get to the end of this wedge towards the end of October. So I do think we are getting very, very close to seeing a potentially really nice move for ZBEC. Again, the next 48 hours going to be very important for ZBEC as well. So we're seeing a lot of our kind of main cryptos that we're keeping eyes on hitting a lot of kind of key points. Now, we're not like actively on top of these key points right now, but generally, when we see a move that is, could be fueled by rate cuts or even manipulated via the news of rate cuts, we are getting very, very close to some key support and some key kind of like make or break levels for a lot of these coins. So it's going to be very, very important to make sure that these coins actually hold these levels. If not the end of the world, but a lot of these potentially very juicy setups could potentially be invalidated. So I'm going to be watching very, very closely to make sure that we're seeing a lot of this continue to hold. If it doesn't, then I'll be adjusting my plan accordingly. Of course, you can follow, subscribe, all of that type of stuff to stay up to date with what I am doing as the market is, of course, continually changing and evolving. So again, overall, hopefully you found the information in this video useful. If you did, a like and a subscribe does actually help a ton. Nearly 80% of my viewers are not subscribed, so it would really, really help me out if you did subscribe, because of course that does help me continue to grow on YouTube. So also, if you have any comments, questions, anything like that, was there a coin that I missed that you wanted to hear more about? Is there anything that you wanted to see specifically? Drop those in the comment section. I do read and respond to all of those, so I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments there. Thanks all so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.